Today, me and Adam are going to talk about something that is famous all around the world that is a big part of Japanese culture and history. That is the Yakuza. Hey everyone, welcome back to another, oh no, that's my pinky kind of episode.
Oh no.
We're the hosts. My name is MJ.
My name is Adam.
Thank you for joining us in this maybe controversial episode where we're going to talk about something that is very well known within Japan, and it is maybe well known overseas to a certain degree. So, but in any case, I mean, this conversation is a cool one because, hey, maybe you're going to go overseas, maybe you're going to meet someone and they're going to have this question, are the Yakuza real in Japan?
Yeah.
What do they actually do? So this could be helpful in that type of conversation if you have it. Adam, what was your initial idea of Yakuza before coming to Japan?
The way I got my idea was only through Japanese movies and I guess some anime, but mostly they were like the gangster, rough type of Japanese people. They spoke very roughly. They behaved very rough. Like everything about them was rough.
Okay.
But they wore suits and they drove like fancy, expensive cars. They also did a lot of dirty business, I would say. And some of them even lost their pinkies.
I think that is a very, very big point of entry for people to learn about the Yakuza from overseas. If you're an American, if you're someone who likes Japanese culture, you might stumble upon it online or something. And especially now as the times have changed, there's probably more information that you can find out. But I think a lot of it still comes from movies, comes from either Hollywood, or if you're someone who's watching Japanese films, maybe a few like, Beat Takeshi films, then maybe, you're closer to the source with some of those.
One weird thing I noticed, I guess this is more before and after coming to Japan and learning more about Japan and culture and history, from the movies and from like the history of other things, it feels like they're kind of holding on to some of the old rituals, the old ways of Japanese life and the balance between people in society within their own like society, like how there's a boss and the boss controls the organization, and then there's people on the bottom who do like the small work, and then there's people in the middle who control and they have to like show respect. Kind of feels like like how samurai have that same kind of respect.
The like hierarchy system,
the hierarchy systems from the past. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I thought was interesting, that they kind of feel like they're holding on to.
Maybe as slang, we could say that they're very old school,
old school
in the ways that they're doing things. They do things kind of in a traditional fashion. So I think those are the big points that we know as outsiders who like Japanese things and what we've learned. I think this is a common knowledge that people have about the Yakuza. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about some information, some points, maybe facts, not so sure. Again, I picked this up from the internet, everyone. Some points about the Yakuza that I learned are that they're 300 years old.
That's like older than America.
And as you're mentioning, how they're holding on to this old way of doing things. It is said that they are descendants of Ronin or past samurai. So people who ended or who were samurai or Ronin, and their family has continued on. And there's a strong connection with that kind of idea, that lifestyle of being strong and being tough and rough. They're also well known as, a kind of mafia syndicate. They're a group, an organization that does crime. And I think that's like the big information that is correct from what we know outside of Japan and the information that we see. They take part in extortion, gambling. They're loan sharks. They are drug trafficking, smuggling, and even having their hand in different types of bars, cafes, or businesses. That has been going on for such a while, and it's been kind of troublesome that in 2011, there was a law that was put in place in Japan where companies could not do any kind of work with Yakuza. which is weird. It's like, how would you know? I thought everything that was done is kind of under the table.
Underground, yeah.
Where it's secretive, right?
But not only that, it seems like have to put a law like that into place. Was there a lot of businesses that were doing business with the Yakuza? Why would they put a law if it was just one or two? It's got to be more than one or two, right?
I'm sure it runs real deep. So now, Adam, I want to ask you the question. With your over 10 years experience in Japan, did you experience any Yakuza at any time? Did you learn about them while you were staying here?
Firsthand?
Any firsthand, or even, stories that you heard from friends?
I heard from friends that they're dangerous, right, for Japan, but they're not as dangerous for civilians and people who are not in business with the Yakuza. People I know who have met them or met people within the Yakuza family, people said that they were like really nice and really friendly, and they're just regular people, who are just living their lives normally, but happen to be in this kind of organization.
Business. It's a work kind.
Yeah, it's like work. It's like a work for them. They don't really go out of their way, like in America where you have gangsters just beating up whoever they want. Like, the Yakuza don't do that. They won't go to somebody's house and just beat them up or like beat up people in the street. And the other thing I heard is that if the people who are, because there's a big hierarchy, if like the people who are at the bottom of the chain do end up hurting or causing problems to regular civilians for whatever reason, it's not a good thing. Like, they can be punished within the organization for causing that, because it brings shame to their organization. Not only, and it brings the police into the organization to do like investigations for things that they're doing. So it's not a good way of business for them, I guess. They're not as bad as they are thought to be. I don't know. I don't know, but every time I spoke with somebody who has had an interaction, they always said, yeah, he was a nice guy, but he was just part of the Yakuza. That's it.
I've heard that it runs deep in families as well, where, or, if your father or mother is a part of the Yakuza, it trickles down and it goes into the next generation, where they'll definitely be not forced into, I don't know, but I'm guessing it'd be kind of an easy access point to go into that line of work or business, if you will.
I think it's a hard thing to get out of because of how negatively it's looked at in Japanese society. Like, I imagine every time you go for an interview and they ask you, like, who's your family members, and they do research about that, they'll find out. And it's not really good for the company if their Shinyu Shines have connection with, Yakuza. So I guess it's the only way that they can survive.
Yeah, so that's a really, really interesting point. Now, this happens all over the world. Like, take example in the West, someone who goes through jail system, right? They commit a crime, they go through jail, and they have this label now that they went through jail. So definitely things are going to be harder for them to get certain types of jobs. Society will be looking at them differently because they see them as a criminal. And that's the big connection, I feel, with anyone who is a Yakuza or gang member, where it makes it almost impossible to then become a civilian, a shakaijin within the rest of the Japanese shakai. I don't think I have any personal experience talking much with Yakuza, maybe like at a festival or something. Like, who knows, like every time you go buy a choco banana, what kind of level of Yakuza gangster are we talking to? Because I've seen a lot of those people with defined tattoos that are in fashion with the Yakuza tattoos that I've seen. I could be totally wrong, and of course I don't ask. They were very nice. They gave me the choco banana. We did the janken. I got an extra one, And I've also heard from friends who have worked at those demises during the festivals that, yes, they're all gangs that run all of the demises at festivals now. Nothing bad comes from it. They're creating a nice atmosphere for the people in the festival, right? They're giving pretty much food for everyone. It might not be the best quality, but hey, it's your option to buy it if you want to. I've also heard about, or the Yakuza being kind of like thug for hire, security, if you will, for clubs or security for certain bars, any of these host clubs and stuff, or actual like dance clubs, where they're the ones that kind of, you know, take it in their hands if something gets out of hand, if something goes too extreme, if they need to get money from somebody from this business to business standpoint, they're the ones to get that money. Hey, I even heard NHK, those don't knock NHK des, mada harate nai desu. Those people, I've heard that there is a connection with some sort of entity. I don't know if it's Yakuza or not, but it is not actual NHK staff that go to your door.
Whoa.
Or maybe that's just my what I've heard from other Westerners living in Japan. Not sure about other people within Japan. So we see businesses utilizing or giving business pretty much to the Yakuza to continue to run. Now, that might have all been taken away once this law happened in 2011, which I'm sure it did, which made it more difficult for the Yakuza to keep their business up and to
make money.
Pretty much. So we all that's what we all need to do in this society nowadays. Going back to what we were saying, how it forces people who are in this to stay in this. And example that tattoos are their representation of loyalty, right? You get a tattoo. Technically, you could laser tattoos away now. You can get them removed, but it's a sign that you're a part of it. It's very similar to the work ethic of normal sarariman who go to their companies, who work there until they retire and do zangyo for a long time and work on the weekends when they don't have to, but their loyalty is the same. Instead of tattoos, normal people wear suits. Their suits are made out of Italian silk. Yakuza suits are ink on their skin.
One thing I did want to understand is that if they were so bad, why are there video games, movies, comics, comedies, all these different parts of pulp culture? They're just so in them, almost to a point where you feel like you want to meet somebody like that. My Boss, My Hero was one of the first dramas that I watched from Japan, and it was hilarious. All of these parts made me more interested, and they all had something in common, and that was that they all included gangsters, Yakuza families, being lighthearted, being personable, like being people, but at the same time, they had that dark side of them too.
I mean, that's a very interesting point of, instead of just using it as a tool to become popular or become a video or a movie that many people want to watch because of the action, maybe because of the violence, you're talking about showing the lighthearted side of it. Maybe it was also a little bit of, hey, Yakuza are normal people at heart. As the years continue and maybe this bad side of Yakuza goes away, let's also remember that we can be nice people. And it seems interesting because a lot of people, like we're mentioning, if they're so bad, many people like want to say, hush, hush, don't talk about it. But at the same time, it's at the forefront of the culture, the pop culture in Japan. So maybe it should be the forefront of conversations. Hey, maybe we can continue it. Let us know down in the comments what you think about Yakuza in Japan, and just how people view them within Japan. Good, bad? You know, what's the idea? Are you? I don't know.
Do you play Yakuza? We'll see you on the next step.